Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Rudy Page.
And welcome back to Intogozo FM, powered by Fresh FM Radio London. And it's Let's Talk KZN going global. And every week I promised you abantu abaphuma KZN tourism abazobesichazela kabanzi ukuthi tourism or ezokuvakasha le KZN zihamba kanjani, yini izinto that we can look forward to njengoba kuyisikhathi se-COVID, nokuthi amaphi ama-plans abanawo ukuthi bathuthukise ezokuvakasha la eSouth Africa. And as usual, angihambi ngedwa namhlanje. Igama lami, by the way, uPortia Mkhize. Ngihamba no-Rudy Page, who's all the way in London. And we've also got General Manager with KZN Tourism, Nhlanhla Khumalo. Yena kuzobe sesichazela-ke ukuthi njengoba yena ela KZN, ewumuntu osebenza directly ne-tourism yaka KZN, ukuthi kuhamba kanjani ukuze naseLondon phela ba-understand ukuthi njengoba sila KZN yini lesinayo ezoletha abantu ukuthi bazosivakashela babone lo mhlaba wethu omuhle, babone nezinto eziningi esizi-offerishayo in regards to tourism, like our culture, like our music, our fashion, everything that KZN has to offer. You will learn so much today, and I hope everybody stays tuned. If you have questions, you can ask questions, and you can go live onto our Facebook page, and you can go directly and watch the whole show on Rudy Page's page on Facebook. So the page is Rudy Page, and we are live currently, so you can watch the whole thing. And if you are on Zoom, you can also watch it on Zoom. I will post it on our Facebook page on NUZ Township Tourism, and we are ready to go. And before I hand it over, I just want to introduce our guest, Nhlanhla Khumalo. KZN Tourism awubingelele abalaleli bala eNtokozo FM nabalalele phela nase-London bazosiza ukuthi sithini, kodwa yabo asike sibanikeze nje lo ukuthi sawubona wase-South Africa.
Sanibona balaleli emakhaya. Nhlanhla Khumalo lo from Tourism KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. I'm working as a general manager for tourism development in this province. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Portia. And
thank you so much, Nhlanhla. And I'm so glad Rudy bayazi ukuthi Rudy uphesheya, and Rudy is going to take over now, and we're going to pass the ball actually to London, and let's listen to the conversation. And as I said, you can go live on Rudy Page's page on Facebook and watch the whole conversation live. Hi, Rudy.
Hi. Welcome
back.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome from sunny London.
You wish.
If only. Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Khumalo. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon, Rudy. I'm well, and you?
Yes, all is well. Great to be speaking to you as the General Manager of Tourism Development of Tourism KZN, and it's great to speak to you for the next short while. And especially in your role as general manager, that's a term we use. Implementation is key to attainment.
Yes.
So I think that's going to be very much in terms of the spirit of this discussion today. And I'm looking forward to it. And I know many people who are in the UK and around the world will also be interested in what you've got to say.
Okay.
So globally, the tourism sector is one of course has been hard hit. It's hard hit industries by COVID-19 pandemic. So as the KZN Tourism Authority, what has been your response towards the recovery of the sector in general?
Okay. No, thank you, Rudy. In fact, we like many other countries and other provinces within the country, we were impacted adversely by the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. Obviously, if there are restrictions in terms of travel, most of the tourism businesses had to suffer in a sense that they had to temporarily close down, and as a result, they had to lay off some workers simply because they were not generating any revenue. But the situation, of course, was beyond our control. But the first thing that we had to do, together with the tourism stakeholders in the province, we had to sit down and put together a tourism recovery strategy for the entire province. That tourism recovery strategy is in line with the national tourism recovery strategy. So in other words, there is work that needs to be done nationally in terms of recovering. And also there is work that needs to be done at the provincial level, which is work that we are facilitating as Tourism KwaZulu-Natal. That in itself, we had to focus on the interventions that would be required to assist tourism businesses to remain in the industry. That work included us designing some relief packages, financial relief packages that will be required to support the tourism businesses to recover. And that also included the support to the small tourism enterprises in the province. But generally, it also required us to ensure that we are de-risking the sector within the province. In other words, it meant that how do we ensure that it is safe to travel to KZN? Those are the key aspects of the strategy that we had to look into. But in addition to that, we had to look at the promotional and marketing efforts that needs to be undertaken to ensure that the destination is still in the top of the minds of the visitors globally. So that, in a nutshell, is the package of work that was contained in the recovery strategies as penned down by the stakeholders in the province, and KZN is facilitating exactly that. But the key issue is that, well, of course, as a result of the COVID-19, the tourism infrastructure facilities are still intact. Okay. It was not necessarily impacted, obviously, by the COVID-19. Yes, of course, the maintenance requires some financial support, but the fact of the matter is that we had to look into the businesses that are, in fact, making use of those infrastructure and facilities to ensure that the tourists and the visitors that arrive into the province are, in fact, catered for. So we had to focus in the main in terms of the small tourism enterprises. We have a small tourism enterprise development program in place, and we had to relook into it and refocus it to deal with the impact of COVID-19. So we do have a recovery plan that is in place, which we are currently facilitating throughout the province and also monitoring it. So that's basically was the response of the entity Tourism KwaZulu-Natal together with other stakeholders within the province.
Okay. So that kind of brings me to all around the world, the small SMEs, micro enterprises are being disproportionately impacted, obviously, because of their size, especially in the local, what we would call neighborhoods, the local business, the town centers. And so what particular intervention strategies have you deployed to support those businesses, then assist them then to grow as we move out of this pandemic?
Okay, thanks for that question. We have had the enterprise development program in place, as I've indicated earlier on. Due to the impact of COVID-19, we had to refocus it on the interventions that are relevant and which came as a result of the impact of the pandemic. The first thing that we had to do was to design a capacity building program for the enterprises. We have been rolling out that enterprise development program throughout last year, and we still continue to roll it out, targeting the small enterprises within the province. In as much as everyone has been impacted by the pandemic, but the difficulty will be with the major problem will be with the small tourism enterprises from recovery. So we thought that that is our first priority. Therefore, we designed some training and capacity building programs for them. The first focus of those enterprise development program was the debt and funding solutions that are available out there. We had to guide them to access the available funding solutions within the country and within the province. As you will recall, that there was a National Tourism Relief Fund. We had to provide them with support, necessary support, so that they access such funding from the national department. We also had to prepare them to function within the COVID-19 environment. We provided them with support in terms of the recovery strategies, other than the financial resources that would be required. But you do need to relook into your business and do some assessment in relation to the prevailing economic situation within the country. That would require you to design new strategies as a business. So those are the areas that we had focused on in terms of assisting with business recovery strategies. And the other aspects that was delivered is the whole issue of the tourism industry protocols that are meant to be applied during the COVID-19 environment when the businesses were reopening. So we had to take them through in terms of the training. We had also to take them through in terms of registering for the app that was designed by the TPCSA, Tourism Business Council of South Africa. We have run workshops for them because other than the money, the key issue is that what are you going to do? That is why we're much more focused on the recovery strategies for them and for their businesses, because once you get the money, you must know what to do with it. If you get the money and you still do things that you were doing in the past, whereas the environment has changed, you might not see the returns on investment after you have spent that money. So it was important for us to look at the tourism recovery strategies for businesses under a situation like this as arising from the COVID-19 pandemic. But in addition to that, we had to roll out the market access support for the small tourism enterprises. We partnered with a number of like-minded organizations within the country that offered some access to virtual platforms where enterprises will be able to come into contact with tourism trade. We had made use of several platforms just to assist our tourism SMMEs to participate and showcase their products so that they can be able to reach out to the market out there so that they can draw their interest. That is market access intervention that we had run. And of late, we had introduced also a provincial tourism relief fund. So we had been administering that fund. We had invited applications from interested small tourism organizations or businesses within the province. They had applied and the evaluations have been completed. I think the only thing that will be done towards the end of June, which is by next week, we should be able to disperse funds for the successful tourism enterprises. That's the financial support on the part of tourism KZN and the government that has been mapped out for small tourism enterprises.
Right.
We still continue implementing those interventions, varied as they are, understand the situation. You might not have all the resources, but with the minimum resources that we have, we need to do what we can in order to save the situation.
Absolutely. And actually, some of what you just said there, particularly around the digital space and making best use of the resources and understanding that there are new markets now with digital. I think that's really important. So what is the general approach to, or from the tourism body to digitization of tourism, particularly amongst the small and medium-sized enterprise? Because obviously the digital platforms and that transformation within the sector is obviously what can create new customers and more interest in the country.
We have in fact responded to that particular aspect. We have just introduced as part of the enterprise capacity building program, an intervention that is aimed at capacitating small tourism enterprises to use and apply the digital technologies that are available out there to market their products. It is not limited to marketing as well, even in operating their businesses. There is a program in place that is currently running. We have identified those that are small in the picture, which is a small enterprises within the province. They are currently undergoing that particular training, which is aimed at equipping them with sufficient knowledge in terms of how to apply the available technologies for the benefit of their own businesses, both in terms of their operation and marketing their products. So there are different digital platforms that have been identified, which they are being shared with. So it's also an issue of us helping them to put together or to package their products in a digital manner so that they are easily presentable to the different platforms that are out there, including the social media platforms. So that's what the program is assisting them with. It has already started with effect from April. So it's currently going on up until the end of the financial year, which is March 2022. So we are continuing with that program in order to ensure that small enterprises as well do have access to digital tools, and at the same time they are equipped with sufficient knowledge in terms of how to use those platforms and the digital tools for marketing their products and securing the market share out there. That's what we are helping them.
Okay, and that's very good, because of course these days videos can be produced at modest costs. You just have to have an iPhone and can be creative and informative and get it into these global platforms. And in fact, even this platform that we have here, you know, the link between Fresh FM Radio London and Sokozo Radio down there in South Africa is unique. And as a tourism authority, you're doing something ahead of many other countries. So again, as you said, it's making best use of resources and networks.
Yeah,
and you certainly are doing that with this initiative. So, and you've touched on it in terms of the rebuilding of confidence in KZN. So how are you preparing the rural and township businesses with new, and you've touched on in terms of assisting with the digital strategy, but given their challenges about adaptation, because as we know, when organizations and businesses with limited resources and access to skills, adaptation to new market conditions can be a major challenge.
Yeah, I think in terms of building confidence, I think the key issue under the circumstance, under the prevailing circumstances, it's how do we ensure that visitors to the province, both international and domestic, do have confidence to travel.
Yeah.
The issue lies with the safety. Is it safe to travel to different areas within KZN? That means we need to ensure that we apply the tourism industry protocol related to COVID-19. So as I have indicated earlier on, the small enterprises have been capacitated in terms of adhering, and they have been trained to adhere to the industry protocols for COVID-19. So that is a key thing, so that it gives confidence to the visitors that when they visit the destination, they are in fact safe. That's a key issue under the prevailing circumstances. That work is going on, and it has already started last year, which we were rolling it out together with the Tourism Business Council of South Africa. So that has been done throughout the process. Majority, if not all, of the tourism establishments within the province have got what we call they're adhering to the COVID-19 tourism protocols. So that's what has been done. So basically, that's one aspect of deriving the confidence. But secondly, it's an issue of an awareness right from the side of the supply, which is the product owners themselves, and the awareness on the side of the visitors themselves that needs to be done in relation to ensure that we adhere to the stipulated protocols. So that's an awareness which we need to do to ensure that both sides, the visitors and the travel, and the providers of tourism services, are in fact fully aware in terms of what rules do they have to adhere to in order to ensure that their visitors are safe, and also how the tourists themselves needs to ensure that they too are also safe when they are traveling within the province. So that is an awareness element. But again, as we talk about the rural and township tourism, the significant number of Black-owned tourism businesses are situated in the rural areas. So these interventions have been targeting them, those tourism businesses that are situated and operating within the townships. So we are working with the community tourism organizations within the province. We have started engagements with a variety of CTOs, which we call the community tourism organizations within the province. We have started with the CTOs in Durban. We have engaged with them, but there are two aspects to it. One is that we need to ensure that we support them in terms of capacity building as well, so that they can do effective coordination at the local level. But it doesn't end there. There is also a support that we are providing for them to identify new tourism experiences within the rural areas and the townships that they are operating under. So that's the support that we have. We are sure that if we've got proper coordination at that level, at the local level, and that there is correct application of the protocols at that level, we should be able to ensure to build the confidence of the visitors into the destination, because the issue is about safety under the prevailing circumstances.
Yes, okay, thanks for that. So you have what's called the smart virtual tourism areas. So, and of course, each will have its own unique challenges and potential. So how is TKZN going to work with these communities to identify local champions that will, again, assist with the agreed local action plan, the design and the structure, so that, you know, there's more community involvement and participation?
Okay. Definitely sure. The entry into the local space rests with the local tourism organization. In this case, these are the community tourism organization. We have started working with them. We have drawn up some plans in terms of identifying the areas that are housing new tourism experiences in the township and also in the rural areas. So we've got those structures in place at the local level, including the local municipalities, because they are responsible for all the infrastructure that enables the development of rural and township tourism experiences. So we are engaging with them. We've got a provincial structure in place, which is called the Provincial Tourism Forum. That's where the variety of stakeholders within the province, right from the government side, from provincial government and districts and local municipalities, gets represented, so that they are able to engage on matters of local tourism development. So we are using those structures to ensure that there is participation in the process. And beyond that, there will be steering committees that are specific to a particular area, in which they will be able to make inputs towards the new tourism experiences that we are currently identifying out there. So we are going to work closely. In fact, we are working closely with the community tourism organization to implement the interventions. All of the interventions that I've spoken about, they relate to enterprise development. They also relate to product development at the local level.
Right. So does that mean then that the local townships, the rural areas, they will have access and a pathway to the international markets? Because historically, that hasn't been the case, generally speaking.
Yes. So there will be that access, definitely, that is created. So the visitors to the province should be able to go to the rural areas and experience a variety of lives that are being lived by people in the rural areas, the cultures that we have, our heritage and our history that is embedded in those particular areas. We have already identified in the rural areas of Nhlanhla a wealth of information in relation to the history that has taken place there, involving a different sets of local Amakosi, the chiefs and the kings. We are busy collecting that particular information and the history so that it will be useful in terms of telling that to the visitors who will happen to visit different historical and cultural tourism sites within the rural areas. There is also there are potential adventure tourism activities that we have been working with the stakeholders in trying to put together a rural tourism precinct in the Umgeni around Durban. So we have put together plans also that working together with the local Amakosi, the landowners within the area, as well as the product owners in the area. So there is a new experience that will come out of that, which even include a lot of water sports activities around the dam, in under dam. So we are designing all of those things, and that's going to be packaged in a manner that is able to be presented to various digital platforms so that can be accessible to the markets. So that's the work that we are doing. So we are on the ground in terms of
what you're really describing is a lot of collaboration within the tourism infrastructure itself.
Yes.
And now that we're in this digital world the way we are, that consumers from around the world or potential visitors will be able to access the information right direct into the rural areas, into the neighborhoods, and actually see and understand and understand the culture and encourage them to visit, of course, at the end of the day. It's great.
Definitely.
Yeah. Excellent. So what's your message to tourism CTOs and the CTAs and related business organizations as the province is seeing the influx of domestic tourists, bridging the gap caused by the missing foreign visitors?
Yes. No, that's fine. I think the message should be clear out there, which is a message that we have consistently been communicating, that I think collaboration is key. So it is important that we work together as different role players in order to ensure that we bring back the tourism destination as KZN, and it sits in the top of the minds of the visitors. So that is collaboration. And secondly, there is nothing that we can do as TKZN without the support of the CTOs. They should work with us side by side. Let's walk together the path that we have started walking so that we are able to achieve the end results that we intend to achieve. And again, they should be able to actively make use of the support that we are giving. So that they can be able to showcase their products. The experiences that I'm talking about, which we're identifying, are the experiences that are identified by themselves, in consultation with them. So presentation of that information and seizing the opportunity to use the digital platforms that are available, we should be able to be on top of the minds in various areas within the country and within the continents. Less than therefore focus on encouraging domestic travelers to visit around the province, so that different areas around the province, so that we should be able to sustain our businesses until such time that the situation is normal. However, we do not anticipate that the methods that we have adopted in terms of executing our businesses will change. It will not necessarily change, but the technological developments will always evolve. So we should be able to seize those opportunities in terms of our available digital platforms that are out there.
Right, so in other words, this is a great time for innovation and enhancing the visitor's experience. So if you were to look ahead a couple of years now, what would you envisage things will look like for the tourism sector from where we are now?
I think definitely sure. In the next 2 years, I think by 2023 and 2024, we should have overcome this situation. And the performance of the tourism industry will increase. I'm not projecting that the COVID-19 will not be there, but mechanisms would have been put in place in order to ensure that we operate in a COVID environment. So definitely sure, within the next 2 years, we should be able to see the industry getting back and increasing the revenues that are getting generated and contributing to the GDP. That would happen in the next 2 years because we are getting used to it in any way. So we'll be able to travel even if there is COVID-19.
That's right.
We have all the mechanisms in place.
And what about the townships and the international recognition of townships and those rural areas that historically may not have been on the mainstream tourism strategy?
In fact, the international market is looking up to the experiences that they do not have in their own vicinity. So we've got our own unique cultures, we've got our own unique history, which history is sitting in the townships and in the rural areas. So therefore, there will be an increase in terms of interest of visitors to cultural tourism and historical tourism. So basically, it is important for us to increase the pace of delivering and packaging the rural and township tourism experiences within the province.
All right. So do you see any of the townships hosting major events or generally international events? And because there's groups traveling all around the world looking for different experiences, of course.
Yes, in fact,
culture, music, everything.
That is currently happening. We've got the Durban July coming.
Okay.
Very soon, although it will be done virtually, just for the people to be able to see what is actually happening there. But that presents an opportunity for the surrounding townships to also host major events if the infrastructure has been improved and the support systems have been put in place. We should be able to host major events. The same goes to the rural areas. We've got the Dundee July as well. That is happening. It is happening in the rural areas. So that event should also be looked at so that it becomes a major event that attracts a large number of visitors from all walks of life. So there is potential in the near future for the rural areas and the township areas to host major events within the province.
Okay, excellent. So I'd like to focus a bit around young people and the role of young people in tourism. What role do you think the young can now play in this tourism space? Young people like Portia.
I think there is a lot that they need to do within the tourism space. We do have our priorities set clearly. We do focus on young people to get into tourism businesses. Okay. So basically, they should be the ones that are providing tourism experiences to the visitors. But we do also expect them to participate as travelers to different areas within the province. So they've got a huge role to play, both as tourists and also as providers of the services within the tourism sector.
Okay, so have you got the particular capacity building programs and skills programs particularly aimed at young people?
Yes, in fact, beyond the formal training that is provided by universities and different institutions of learning, through the very same enterprise development program that we have, we do provide some business management skills to help those who are new in the industry to navigate through and to be able to understand how to do tourism business within the province. So there are skills development programs that we have for small businesses. By implication, it means as we encourage young people to take up the challenge of participating in the tourism industry as business owners and also as travelers, they should be able to acquire those particular skills. So that support is in place, and it's for them to seize that particular opportunity so that they can grow bigger within the tourism space.
Absolutely. And of course, within this digital space and the use of social media, again, if you're producing the content, there's no reason why they can't be sharing it around the world, because informing the culture coming from the young people, I think is really important, just like the diaspora, the South African diaspora. So the more content you get into the digital space, the more it can be shared.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, great. I think we've covered all aspects, but I'll leave the last word with you before I hand back to Portia. Is there any other point you'd like to make before we end?
Yes, in fact, the message should be clear that more especially the distressed tourism businesses out there. This is not the end. We need to make our efforts in order to ensure that we bounce back. The support that is provided by government through different means should be the support that is utilized. But at the forefront of recovery, I think the private sector is key. They need to play a major role in terms of ensuring that we do bounce back after the COVID-19 situation. I think we rely heavily on the private sector to achieve all the targets that we have set ourselves and to run a very successful tourist destination within the province. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Khumalo. Portia, back to you.
Thank you so much, Rudy. That was amazing. I've learned so much as well. As a young entrepreneur, and Rudy knows I run my own little travel agency, and having Nhlanhla Khumalo there and actually mentioning that we would like to involve more young people in the tourism space actually excites me, because we do have under our database, because I also work for the CTO, in terms of getting more businesses coming into the CTO and learning how to work with us so that they can get to the level of our other tourism counterparts. Because as abantu abamnyama, you know, tourism But manje ngoba sesiyasibona ispace and siyayibona ukuthi singangena kula mabhizinisi, inkinga manje sekuyi-information ukuthi how do we get that information out there. So this show, thank you to Rudy for actually collaborating with us from London, with us la eMlazi, to make sure that that information is out there. Nabase London bayabona ukuthi nathi senzani la, especially in regards to township tourism and rural tourism. And Mr. Nhlanhla Khumalo, you mentioned ukuthi we actually going to be working more with our townships. We're going to be working more with the rural areas. You've mentioned Itandi, you've mentioned Inanda. Nathi la eMlazi yazi siningo nyameni, yazi kuhle kanjani. So basically ngathanda ukuthi sik-invite now uzobona ukuthi what it is that we have developed as well la eMlazi in terms of rural tourism. But then over and above that, I think also there's also other places that we haven't mentioned, like for example, KwaNongoma. We've got Isilo Kona. That's a very big attraction, like as Abantu Abamnyama, and it's our culture. So to learn more about that and have more people coming in and learning, ukuthi njengoba samaZulu, why samaZulu, imvelaphi yethu iqhamuka. So nje uma ungase utsheleke nje i-youth ke manje baba uNhlanhla Khumalo ukuthi ukuze bakwazi ukuthola le information, because ukhulumile ukuthi sisebenzisana namanye ama-departments asiza ukuthi sithole information. So apart from ama-CTOs, eyiphi enye indawo lesingathola khona information ukuthi sikwazi ukusebenzisana nani njengo-tourism KwaZulu-Natal?
Yeah. Thank you, Portia. I think ziningi indlela ezingenziwa noma izinto ezenzakalayo ukuthuthukisa i-tourism lapha endaweni eyisemakhaya nasemalokishini. Okokuqala nje, let me accept ukuthi the request that we have made of us visiting and see what we are doing in Umlazi will be attended to. Definitely we are working with Umlazi CTO, so they will be able to take us through what they are currently dealing with in the area. So that request has been taken through. You see, abantu abasha kunezinto esiyithathela phansi endaweni esihlala kuzo, kanti lezo zinto zibalulekile kakhulu okuza ku-tourism. Sihlale seqa imifula, intaba, namawa, but asicabanga ukuthi kwesinye isikhathi singazenza kanjani lezi zinto lezi esiphiwe zona in-nature ukuthi siyisebenzise ukuze sithole indlela yokuphila. So ikhona-ke indlela yokusebenzisa indawo enjengemifula ney'ntaba ukuthi sithole ama-tourism development opportunities and make our livelihoods easier. So ungaze uye ngisho emalokishini, the unique nature of the lifestyle that we live lapha kuma-township, that can be sold. It can be a tourism experience. I know that kunabantu abasontayo, kunabantu abenza ama-dance ngendlela ezahlukene ezi-traditional, including abo-campus dance lapha emalokishini. Izona lezo zinto ey'njengalezi ey'ncane esingayiboni, kumele siyibhekisise ukuthi singayiformalize kanjani sizenze i-product engadayiswa kubantu abasuke bezovakasha ey'ndaweni esiphila kuzo. So amanye amagama, information is easily available. We do have a guide, STKZN. It should be available on our website about how to start a tourism business. So there are a variety of tourism businesses that are cited there. So that information can be easily accessible from our website, STKZN. There is also a framework for enterprise development, which indicate the nature of support that we are providing to small tourism enterprises. That information is also available it's accessible on public and through the website. So iyatholakala nase-TKZN information enjengale. Our website has got a lot of information. Get in there, depends what do you want to look at. I know that most of the people want to look at things to do in different areas of interest, but also we do have important information about how young people can start their tourism businesses, and also what nature of support do they have. We also work with the different funding organizations. We are also responsible for looking for funders and also running investment promotion activities, mainly within the tourism space. So we support different individuals and organizations that come up with proposals to us. So we work with Itala, we work with KZN Crowd Fund, we work with NEF, we work with IDC. So all of those funding organizations, we've got some working relationships with them. So if we support you to plan and put together the business plans for your conceptualized tourism product or experience, we do provide that guidance if we are convinced, and we then help you to look for funding from different funding organizations that we work with. So that information is available as well.
Okay.
Amazing.
That's
All right.
excellent. So I'm now going to hand back, and so Fresh FM Radio London, we're pleased as usual to be hosting and working with Intercozo, and I certainly look forward to our next meeting next month as usual. Mr. Khumalo, really good to meet you.
Thank
And
you.
look forward to visiting you and meeting you in person one day.
Yeah, I definitely sure it would happen, because I'm still in KZN. I guess I'll be here forever. So we should be able to meet. Thanks to both of you, Rudy and Kosha, for allowing me to share this information with the listeners in different areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to
Amazing.
you.
Thank you so much once again to Rudy Page from Fresh FM Radio London, our collaborators within Ntokozo FM, La Emlazi Mega City. Ngibonge kakhulu futhi na GM yethu ye KwaZulu-Natal Tourism, Mr. Nhlanhla Khumalo. Definitely you are going to be hearing from a lot of youth. We get a lot of youth that come into the city when they want to know how to start their businesses. And I'm glad you also touched on the funding aspect of actually starting e-tourism business as a young person, because I feel like also the education of how you apply for funding is also something that we should also be looking at. And I'm glad that she actually did talk about it today, because sonke sifana sathi ukuthi nongine idea and then